We are going to be talking to, in seconds, we're going to be talking to Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is the representative from Kentucky who really put everybody into a tantrum earlier today. And I was just discussing this with Mr. Snerdley during the commercial break. I was saying, what really shocked me about it was how quickly everyone turned on Massie. Because he said, we really need to, I want to have a roll call vote. This is a big thing, And then some people even went as far to say, well, Thomas Massie is pulling a Nancy Pelosi. No, that was a completely different thing. And we're gonna talk to him firsthand. The thing is, the difference between saying, I want to vote on it this way versus, hold on a second, I want to put a bunch of my stuff in. There's a big difference there. In fact, we have Representative Massie on the phone now, 4-term conservative, libertarian, Republican from Kentucky. Thomas Massie, welcome to the Rush Limbaugh Show.
Thank you for having me on. Wow.
What a day for you, huh?
Well, I didn't want to be that guy, but somebody has to be that guy to stand up and say, hey, what you're doing here is not constitutional. Look, they were going to pass a bill, the biggest bill in the history of mankind, and they were going to do it on unanimous consent. What does that mean? That means nobody shows up to debate or to vote. And I stood up and I said, look, guys, you've got to have a quorum. I quoted the Constitution to them. And by the way, the proof that I'm right is they made a quorum show up today. I forced these congressmen who, by the way, they didn't want to come to work, but they want to tell all the truck drivers that you got to get out there and deliver the produce. They want to tell, all the other people that they call essential workers, they have to go to work, but then they don't go to work. But I forced them to come to work today, but I couldn't force them to work because ultimately, right? I know, right? Ultimately, Pelosi and McCarthy joined arms, locked arms to keep all of the members off of the official record. This didn't delay the bill, not 1 minute. The bill passed on time. The only difference is there was a quorum in Congress because I forced it, and I was hoping that they would go on record because when you have a quorum, it's easy enough to pass a bill. You just vote, and in all honesty, the majority of the people there were for it, but this is the first time I've ever been in Congress they have denied a member, since I've been in Congress, that they've denied a member a recorded vote.
So let me just make sure I'm correct on this, because I want to make sure the Rush listeners understand exactly what happened. So will we know who voted and who didn't, or will that remain a mystery?
It will remain a mystery. And what else is going to remain a mystery is you don't know who stayed home and who came to D.C.
Holy moly.
Pelosi and McCarthy are protecting all those people who didn't come to D.C. They're from the political, they're not protecting them in the sense that they're worried about their health. Now, some of them could have decided to stay home because of their health, but they could explain that to their voters if they wanted to. But what Pelosi and McCarthy are doing, for the most part, is protecting all the members who stayed home from the people knowing that they stayed home, and protecting all the members who came to work from having to go on the record for all time voting for the biggest mistake in human history.
If you're just tuning in to the Rush Limbaugh Show, we're talking to Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. And I have to tell you, sir, you sound very commonsensical and rational, and you quoted the Constitution, 3 things that could get you in a lot of trouble in Washington.
I committed candor today.
I love that.
That's a felony in Washington, D.C. If you tell them, it's like Harry Truman said, they told him to give them hell. He said, I'll give them the truth and they'll think it's hell.
Well, I'd like to quote the president here because, as you know, I don't know if you know yet, you've made it on to President Donald J. Trump's Twitter.
One of my bucket list things was to stay off his Twitter, but.
Well, too late to be candid with you, too late. Here's what he said. Looks like a third-rate grandstander named Thomas Massie, a congressman from, unfortunately, a truly great state, Kentucky, wants to vote against the new Save Our Workers bill in Congress. He just wants the publicity. He can't stop it, only delay, which is dangerous and costly.
Well,
here it is.
Okay, first of all, I take great offense to that. I'm not third rate. I think I'm at least second rate. Okay.
I would agree. Now that you're on the show, you're getting exposure out the yin yang today, Congressman.
Yeah, I'm getting it out the yin yang. That's for sure. But a lot of people are calling me with strong support. They can't believe there's only one person up here that would do it. But by the way, there are other people here. I'm not going to call them out. When there was a voice vote, they yelled no with me. There's some voices of sanity that had my back, and then there's some people who voted yes for the bill but came up to me and said, I agree, we should have gone on record on this.
This is where I sometimes I'm shocked by this, because if the public knew how the level of shenanigans that is played on Capitol Hill, and this is such a great example, I thought that because this is so historical, a year from now, I would be able to go to the congressional record and see everybody who did this and everybody who did that. But this looks like no one wanted to have their fingerprints on it unless it works out for them perfectly.
That is correct. They do not want to put a marker in history. Now, some of them did in the debate speak for or against the bill, but that's not a recorded vote. And by the way, there was a 4-hour debate. They couldn't even find a minute to let me speak. They said, well, you didn't express your interest in this bill soon enough. I had to laugh. I mean, they're all in D.C. because I told them to show up for work. Just show up for work. You're telling the bagger at the grocery store, show up for work. You got the best health care in the world. Why can't you come to work? And they did come to work, but we couldn't make them work. They ultimately refused my demand for a recorded vote. They've never done that in the 8 years I've been in Congress.
So where do we go? Where do we go from here? After you're going to have to reboot your computer because of all the action you're going to get on your accounts and stuff now. But where do we go from here?
Well, let me tell you. Okay, so if there's people out there listening thinking that I don't have a strategy, I want to tell you what the strategy was today. If I were to let them kill our republic in an empty room by unanimous consent and pass this vote that way, guess what? Pelosi, and they said this during the debate today on the floor, they have Corona 4 and Corona 5 already planned. And this is just a warm-up act for them. But when Pelosi goes to her members the next time, maybe it's in a week, maybe it's in 2 months, it says, hey, we need to do another one of those giant bills. And this is going to have all the good stuff in it that, some of the Republicans stripped down or watered down in the first one. Well, they're going to say, well, we don't really feel like coming to Congress and voting on it. And we know that guy, Thomas Massie, will make us do it. So can we just not do it? So that's the strategy here. I know I'm a speed bump. I know I got run over by 400 sets of tires today. But
It's a thrill to talk to you, sir, because I can hear your excitement and your passion for this country and the Constitution, and I know our listeners are excited too. Every time we talk, and there are several of you up there, every time we talk to great representatives and senators that are really willing to put it on the line, it gets people energized. So keep up the good fight.